Hi everybody, welcome to week 2 in our Financial Fit Challenge. This week is getting into kind of actually starting to see your money kind of grow and you actually kind of bettering yourself even more financially. I know we dealt with the budget last week, which is so important and takes a lot of time to get right. And that's very important to be focusing on. But now you kind of start to get to some of the exciting stuff. Now, first though, before we can go and do any sort of debt repayment, this week is focused on your next step after you have your budgets, which is creating an emergency fund. Now, it's so important you have an emergency fund in place before you start to pay down debt, because what happens if something suddenly goes wrong, like something goes in your car, or you get an unexpected medical bill, or you're just you all of a sudden have to get, I don't know, new glasses for your kids, or something comes up that you weren't expecting to have to do. You need that emergency fund in place, because if you start just putting money on debt because you want it gone but you don't have any savings, then you're going to go and have to put money back on debt, and we don't want to do that. We want to create new habits of not having to turn to debt for anything. And so in order to do that, you need to have an emergency fund first. Now, Dave Ramsey recommends having a $1,000 emergency fund in place. If you make less than $20,000 a year, that starts at $500 instead of $1,000. Now that's going to be upped. Your savings is going to increase a lot more once you're debt-free, consumer debt-free minus your house. Then you will start to up your savings, but right now you just have an emergency savings account. So now there's a few different ways you can do that. One, you can budget it in. So instead of all the extra money that you can allot at the end of the month after your bills can go to your emergency fund until it's fully funded. You can do things like selling stuff on online garage sales and kind of seeing things like that that maybe you don't need around the house that you can make money back on to put onto that. There's a few different ways. Maybe we can brainstorm in the group on there for you if you're really struggling with coming up with this $1,000. And then after you have that, we can move on to step 3 next week, which is really attacking our debt. So now the exception to this is going to be for people that might be in a similar situation to me, whereas maybe you can anticipate that you have a slow month coming up for your husband's work, or maybe your husband has time off that comes up soon, or your job's kind of unstable. In those kind of situations, it's really important that you have a higher savings before you start paying down debt, for the same reasons. You don't want to have to turn back to credit cards to have to bail you out of circumstances. So that's totally going to be situational on what you should have in an emergency fund, depending on your situation. If this is you, then post in the group or even private message me, and we can kind of figure an amount that maybe be good to start with before you tackle the next step. But yeah, that's the next step for you guys, is just getting these emergency funds in place so that you can start a kind of a new cycle of, if you do have something come up, you have it planned for. And that's just, it's so incredibly important to have. So for example, actually, we had to use some of our emergency fund a couple of months ago because we were in a car accident and we had to pay the deductible on ours. We had to pay for a rental car for the time that wasn't covered by insurance, and we had that emergency fund in place to do that. In the past, we would have turned to credit cards for sure. So it's so important to be to have that in place before you start to really tackle your debt and increase your savings so much more. So I hope that makes sense to everybody. If you have any questions, let me know, and I hope you guys have a great week.